murder. I mean, war's war, people died, they kidnapped people, but there's a political purpose for that kidnapping. So I'd like to believe that this is genuine, what we're seeing here. But I'm also somebody who's familiar with the Stockholm Syndrome. These Israelis had been underground for some time, held prisoner by Hamas, and I think Hamas was able to.
Do I hear thunder?
It's my dryer that's shaking and rattling and rolling. My house is going to blow up very soon. So if I disappear, you'll know that something very bad happened. But I overloaded it. I think I'm going to get in a lot of trouble tonight. But if I break it, but the fact is, I think that we know that Israel treats the Palestinians like utter crap. They rape Palestinian women. They torture Palestinian children. They beat people. The Israelis admit to doing most of this. They put them in inhumane systems. The Israelis coming out from Hamas are saying, hey, we're getting fed the same food these guys are. We're living the same conditions. They treated us respect. They gave us the medical care we needed, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's a huge disparity between how Hamas treated its prisoners. And this is why the Israeli government's in spin overload, the amount of propaganda coming out now where they're just manufacturing rapes out of thin air, manufacturing torture, manufacturing recollections. They're just making this up, just like they did about Israeli soldiers shooting Israeli civilians. It's coming out even more. Now we have an eyewitness at the raid that's saying the Israeli police killed most of the Israelis. Israeli police killed most of the Israelis that day. The truth will come out about how Hamas treated these people. And I think the Hamas narrative is going to be the one that's more closer to the truth than the Israeli narrative.
Well, you mentioned the Stockholm Syndrome. That's when hostages develop sort of a perverse fondness for their captors. I'm aware of that. I've heard of that. Is there any other possible interpretation for this? Could it be that maybe they're not sure they're out yet and they're not about to be hostile? They want to make sure that they don't piss them off?
The Red Cross, that lady you see with the blonde hair there, she's a Red Cross representative. They're out. They know they're out.
Yeah, they know they're out. Okay.
I think the difference is the Hamas people treated these people with respect, and you're more susceptible to Stockholm Syndrome when you identify with their cause, when you're sharing the space, when you're being bombed every day by the Israelis, when you're in a bunker and it's getting blown up and you're saying, man, that's my government trying to kill me. You're more susceptible.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We're getting tortured every day. There ain't going to be no Stockholm Syndrome there.
Yeah, in fact, that might be more accurately called like bona fide empathy as opposed to the Stockholm Syndrome.
Right. I'm not. First of all, I'm not saying that Stockholm Syndrome is. I see I shouldn't read the comments, but I see in the comments there's people that question whether it's a real thing or not. That's for professional psychologists. But I will say that if you're treated well and you're treated like a human, you tend to respond in a human fashion, and we see that with the Israelis. They respond in a very human fashion to their captors.
The next question comes from Isaac. And Tranquility's server is the location. That is a peculiar place, but whatever. Would the war have happened if the Israelis had managed to remove their president from power like they were trying to before it started?
Well, they weren't trying to remove the president. I know what you're saying, though. You're talking about removing the prime minister. The prime minister is Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was under tremendous political pressure in the lead up to October 7th. Because of what he was doing vis-a-vis rewriting Israeli basic law and eliminating the judiciary as an independent branch of government, basically supporting it to the political whim of the Knesset or parliament, all because he didn't want to be prosecuted for the corruption charges that he is facing. If he were found guilty, he'd go to jail for the rest of his life. So, had they removed him, I don't know. Again, it might have caused Hamas to take a pause, but one of the factors that triggered Hamas wasn't just what was going on in terms of the Israeli government and their refusal to treat Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest shrine in Islam, with respect, their ongoing violation of the rights of the Palestinians on the West Bank and in Gaza. It was a recognition that international public opinion had turned against the Palestinians and that people were more supportive of the the Abraham's Accords, the normalization of relations between Israel and the Gulf Arab states, and if that had been finalized, if Israel had normalized with Saudi Arabia, there would be never any hope for a Palestinian state. So I think Hamas, because one of the main purposes of this attack was to put Palestinian statehood back on the roadmap of international diplomacy.
All right, let's go on to our next question. Well, why don't we take another phone call, actually? What the hell? Hey there, you're on with our favorite weapons inspector. What's your question?
Hey, how you doing, guys? I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you.
I have a question in regards to what actually physically on the ground would happen to Israel to cause them to actually use nuclear weapons, in Scott's opinion, when he actually sees escalate to a certain level. What would that be? And second, if it was a nuclear weapon deployed and there were exchanges and it just stayed regional, what physically would happen to the planet? What would happen to our side of the world as far as the fallout and all that? So technically, like, what in your opinion would happen?
So
all right, thanks for the call.
Very good question. Look, Israel's nuclear policy is premised on what they call the Samson option. That is linked to Samson of biblical fame, he of the long hair who hung out with Delilah, and she cut his hair and he lost his strength, and they held him in the temple, and then he prayed to God for the strength, and he got the strength that brought the temple down on him and everybody else, killing everybody, the Samson option. And so the purpose of Israel's nuclear force is to deter nations from, because Israel's a small nation in a sea of people who don't like it, to deter people from trying to physically eliminate Israel. And so it would take the threat of physical elimination for Israel to use their nuclear weapons. That could either be in the form of a physical attack by Egyptian, Syrian, Jordanian troops that break through the Israeli lines and are moving in to eliminate Israel. Israel would use nuclear weapons to take them all out and take everybody down as Israel goes down. Or they could use it in response. For instance, if Iran actually developed a nuclear weapon, there are some people who believe that Israel would then use nuclear weapons preemptively, but it would be stupid because then Pakistan responds. Israel knows that if they use nuclear weapons, it's all over for Israel. First of all, I can destroy Israel with 3 nuclear weapons, with 1 really. But one nuclear weapon dropped in the vicinity of Tel Aviv eliminates Israel. Put another one in Haifa and another one down in Eilat, and it's over. Israel no longer exists. It's done, physically removed from the planet. For people living in the immediate vicinity, there would be, nuclear fallout. Again, I refer to Chernobyl and the contamination, and you take a look at how it stretched into Europe, contaminated. The way the West found out about Chernobyl was the contamination of milk, I believe, in Sweden and in Europe. It was problematic. This will be much worse. The fallout from this radiation will be carried by the atmosphere into regions. It probably go up through Turkey, working its way across Europe, and then working its way through Russia. But eventually it's going to dissipate, and everybody's going to see an elevation of radiation, which means that globally there will be higher increases of cancer, and it'll be inconvenience. Milk product might be difficult to have for a number of years until you can cleanse the system. But there will be consequences globally for the use of this. It won't be fatal to humanity unless you live relatively close to Israel. Like I said, Israel will cease to exist. So will Palestine, tragically. Lebanon will have a hard time surviving. Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all of that will be contaminated, but the rest of the world too.
All right. We're almost up to the time for the drawing for the coin. If you want to enter, for folks who are in the live chat only on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, just type in #coin. Let's take one more question and then go to the giveaway. And that is, well, let me do it this way so it's a little bit more visible. Rebarch, I guess, from Canada. If the U.S. gives Israel $4 billion a year in aid, and you said on Judging Freedom that Israel is the largest donor to Congress critters, isn't that just the U.S.'s own funds being laundered back into the pockets of politicians? Sorry, if I seem daft.
No, you're not daft. I mean, that's definitely, of course, that's what's happening. But we could say the same thing if Lockheed Martin starts doing illegal contributions. The majority of their money comes from, money allocated by Congress to Lockheed Martin through defense contracts. And so we can say the same, it's illegal. That's the point. And in the case of Israel, it's a foreign government doing this, meaning that people who aren't beholden to the Constitution aren't held accountable under the Constitution. At least when Lockheed Martin does it, we know it's illegal and they can be held to account. It isn't supposed to happen. With Israel, we're letting it happen. We modify U.S. laws so that we don't have to, the Israeli lobby doesn't have to register as a foreign agent. We allow the Israeli government to, Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States and spoke to the U.S. Congress when Barack Obama, the president, was going through a re-election. He was doing it to support the candidacy of John McCain. This doesn't happen. And yet Israel did it, and we let him get away with it because the Israeli lobby will not allow Congress or even the president to hold Israel to account.
Well, I don't understand, Scott. Maybe I'm the one who's daft. How exactly are these donations being made? I mean, the Israeli government isn't openly donating to Congress people, are they? I mean,
well, they do it through APAC, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, which is a lobby. APAC brags about it, Jeff. I'm not making it up. They just published $100 million.
Okay. No, but then the question is, so AIPAC is getting a lot of their money from the Israeli government? Is that?
Well, AIPAC is.
I think that's what the question was, right?
Well, the final sourcing of it might be through donations from American Jewish groups, et cetera, but they're receiving their orders from the Israeli government. They're basically buying congressmen to defend Israel. This is illegal. If we did RPAC, the American Russia Public Affairs Committee, where we were trying to buy American congressmen by threatening them or supporting them to support Russian policies that were dictated by Vladimir Putin, everybody would say that's so un-American, you need to go to jail for the rest of your life. It's treason. What the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee is doing is treason to the United States. You're serving another nation. Whether that money comes directly from Israel or, look, Jeff, the way this money works with Israel, there's such an open exchange between American Jews and Israel, and the money's going back and forth. So that money can work its way back in the United States through any number of enterprises. So yeah, it's money we give Israel. It works its way back to the United States through business relationships, through media relationships, through other commercial enterprises, reinvestment, and then that money makes it back into Congress. There's no doubt that direct linkage exists.
All right. Let's do the coin giveaway. This is the Scott Ritter Challenge coin. And the way this got started was Scott went to Russia back in May, I believe it was. And he brought as a gift some coins to hand out, and everybody loved them. And so now, where the hell is it? Hang on a second. I can't believe I lost the challenge coin. I had it. I think something's.
I see it on mine. It says coin right next to your face on the button below.
Oh, it does.
There's like me, and there's you, and then there's coin, then there's the book, and then there's Ryan flexing.
This is crazy. Why don't I see it?
Because you've been hacked. Heavy flavor.
All right, hold this though. We got to talk about